You've tuned in to the Beyond Hope podcast, your access to success strategies and more to help you survive and thrive through your loved one's addiction challenges while you move onward and upward with your life. Now, here's your host, Shar Jones.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Shar Jones, and I'm the host of Beyond Hope, and I'm also the mother of an addict. So I understand what it means to love someone who struggles with addiction. It has been a very long journey for me, but I have gotten to a place of hope, beyond hope, which is kind of the ironic twist to the name, that I think really hope is where the healing begins. And on the other side of hope is life and joy and love and all these things that are no longer contingent upon the recovery of our addicts. So what I'm hoping to do with this podcast is bring to you so many people that I respect and admire, experts within the industry of addiction and recovery who have so much valuable information to share with me, with you, with all of us. And in addition, we'll be bringing you some stories of hope and hopefully some laughs, maybe some tears along the way, but it's going to be all good. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to this journey with you. So before we get started, let's go ahead and take a listen to this message from one of my sponsors. I recently read an article that said 81% of Americans would like to become a published author. Chances are you're one of them. I know I am. So what's stopping us? Well, for me, it's a lot of hard work. It's time-consuming, it's painful, and expensive, right? Not anymore. For my next book project, I'm teaming up with Hassle-Free Books, and they are making it so easy for me to become an author. They're removing all of the fuss and struggle and making it smooth and simple. And it's far more affordable than you could ever imagine. Go to hasslefreebooks.com and use the promo code SHAR to receive a 10% discount off of any book project. Get started right away and you can become a published author in as little as 45 days. And don't forget to send me a copy of your signed book, please. What are you waiting for? Get your story out there. Visit hasslefreebooks.com, promo code SHAR today. All right, thanks again for joining me, and let's go ahead and get started with today's show. Hey, you guys, welcome. This is Shar. I'm just sitting here thinking about my next guest, and I'm trying to figure out how to talk to you about her. Have you ever met someone for the first time and you felt like you had known them all your life? And it's almost like the introduction was just a formality. Like, I feel like that about Katie. And I'm sitting here trying to remember how we even found each other. I don't even know how I found her. It's like she fell from the heavens above or something, you guys. I feel like she's a freaking angel. That's what she is. She's an angel. She's got this light that exudes from the inside out. This love and light about her that is so beautiful. And I'm just so grateful to know her and to know that she's out in the world doing such incredible work. She came from a very humble beginning, worked her way up the corporate ladder. And then, similar to my story, her daughter's addiction kind of swept in and knocked her off of her feet. And the way that she was responded is with this gift, just embraced it and moved into it with such grace, making connections and changing lives, one relationship at a time. She is making a difference, advocating for addicts and their families. And she is what I aspire to be in this world. And I just feel so incredibly grateful to know her, but also to introduce her and to share her voice with you. So allow me to introduce to you Katie Donovan. And after the interview, please go check out her blog. She and her daughter started this blog together, and it's called amothersaddictionjourney.com. And here she is. Enjoy. This is Katie. Katie, hi. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I am so touched and grateful that you're here with me.
Thank you. It's an honor. I'm really excited about this.
I am too. I want to, we have about 30 minutes together, so I want to give you a few minutes to go ahead and just introduce yourself to our listeners, those that don't know you, and tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. So my name's Katie Donovan. I'm from Macomb Township, Michigan, which is about an hour north of Detroit, just to kind of give people a visual, I guess. And my own daughter struggled with addiction for many years, and unfortunately, she continues to do so. She had about 2.5 years clean, and recently went through a current struggle after her boyfriend passed away very tragically and suddenly in her apartment, and she was reeling from it. She just recently got out of treatment just this past Friday.
Oh, wow.
So it's a big sign to me that, through her struggle really over the past 10 years, I think as a mom, we also go through our own struggles, obviously, and we learn along the way. And we are all at different stages of that journey of learning. And I know for me personally, in the beginning, addiction was something that I was truly not familiar with, one. And two, I was not familiar with prescription narcotics. But again, it has started about 10 years ago. The education that's out now was definitely not out there at the time. And I had taught my kids about the dangers of using drugs, the dangers of alcohol, and don't drink and drive, and all that type of thing. But honestly, I think I have to be open and honest with my own faults as well. And I think that's part of what kept me going and stronger. Was at first I was such in denial that this isn't my problem. But when I look back, I certainly probably I didn't help matters. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And, I taught her about drugs, but I think it was honestly more in a general sense. And she was such a good kid. I guess I didn't really have too many worries. And I certainly had no idea to teach her about prescription drugs. That was not even touched upon. And I remember when she was 17 and she was invited to prom by a senior, and she was a junior at the time. And, she'd always been on the honor roll and really involved in sports. And, our house was just kind of that house that everybody hung out at. And I volunteered a lot with the school, and just, we were involved parents. And I remember we had a code word. I don't know if anybody else has this code safe word in their family. The code, ours was Bible. And so the agreement was, if you are ever in a situation that's uncomfortable, you want to get out of, you can call or text me with that safe word, the code word, and no questions asked. You won't be in trouble, and I will come get you. And so during this prom night, she texted me Bible. I was like, oh my God, right? You go into that panic of, is everything okay? Is everything wrong? And she's like, no, Mom, I'm fine, but my ride's been drinking and I don't feel safe. And at the time, that was just the kind of kid that she was. And I was so proud of her that she took that adult step, right, of maturity and didn't go into that peer pressure of just not making a big deal out of someone drinking on prom, right?
Right.
And so, but fast forward, 6 months later, she had flipped her truck and she had a high amount of Xanax in her system. And from that, really put us on the next 10 years of a roller coaster of addiction. And I remember in the beginning, it was happening so fast, but yet slowly. That makes sense. I couldn't wrap my head around it because I wasn't even familiar with addiction, let alone all the signs and symptoms and behaviors. A lot of them you chalk up to them being just teenagers, right? With an attitude, and they didn't like our rules at home anymore, and distancing herself from the family, and it's hard to really wrap your head and nail down this is what it is, because it was, I think, as parents also, you are somewhat in denial that couldn't truly be what's happening. And I remember the first couple of treatment centers that she had been to, they would talk about enabling. I kept hearing this term, enabling. And people would say, you really need to go to a support group. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not the one that's got the problem, right? And like, this is hers. Like, once she's fixed, everything will be fine. And I was just very blind to my own faults, to be honest with you, and what comes natural as parents. It's almost like with addiction, we have to do the complete opposite. And it's really hard because when we see our children sick and suffering, which is exactly what they are in addiction, we want to help, but we sometimes help in all the wrong ways. I certainly did. Absolutely. And right. And I remember a treatment center had wanted me to go to this family night. And I think I might have told you the story when we were in our class, but I was really irritated because, and that sounds bad, but I have to be as honest as possible. As a parent, and those parents that have kids struggling, you understand the drama and the chaos that is every single day, practically every hour of the day. Mm-hmm. And when they get into treatment, you're finally like, oh my God, I have some peace, right?
Right.
And so now, they wanted me to drive 2 hours to go to this meeting. And I was really irritated because, you work all day, it's 2 hours away. I have things to do. I have grocery shopping, laundry, right? I have another daughter, and a husband, they need me. But I went because that's what you're supposed to do. But I didn't go happily. And when I got there, the class, they passed out this form, and I read the title of it, and it was Enabling and Codependency. And I'm pretty sure I internally rolled my eyes because I thought, oh God, did I seriously just drive 2 hours for this crap? Right. and again, I didn't think that I had anything to do with the problem at all. I thought I'm a good parent, and what am I doing here? I didn't cause this. Right. And then I'm going through the form. And, one of the questions was, have you ever given your child money and not know where it's truly spent? And I check yes. Have you ever looked for a job for your child? Yes. Have you ever, so as we're going on and on through this list, I'm pretty much checking yes to everything. And internally now, I'm really getting irritated because I'm thinking, oh my God, they can see inside of me. Mm-hmm. And I'm coming to my own realization of everything that I thought I was doing right as a parent with addiction was wrong. What I was doing was interrupting her recovery. I was working harder on her recovery than she was. And I believed everything she said. Mom, I need $20 for $20 was like the magic number, right? I need $20 for gas. I need $20 for the doctor's copay that she probably never even went to. I need $20 because I need cigarettes or whatever the case may be. It was constant. But every situation seemed so desperate that I didn't want my child to suffer, because I was so worried if she suffered, it could cause her to relapse. I was walking on eggshells and protecting. Or if she was in active addiction, I thought if I could just support her and give her these opportunities, like helping her find a job. And oh my God, I would print out, pretty little sheets of AA meetings and articles of how to find a good sponsor. And it was just insanity. All of my days and nights were her. And from, yes, educating myself on addiction for sure. But we need to do that. But I was so codependent. I was stalking her, wanting to know, was following her social media. I had a tracker on her car, on her phone, and I was just becoming this crazy, crazy person. And I let everything else go in my life. And I started isolating then myself. And when people would ask, how is Brittany doing? I didn't tell them, or I would stop showing up to things because I didn't want the questions to come up. And I was protecting her because I didn't want, I think, in my own frame of mind, I didn't want anyone to judge her. What if she got through this, right? Nobody needs to know. I didn't want her to be scarred for life that could be a potential, just a young adult mistake. But that's how uneducated I was, that it's truly a disease, and it's a progressive disease. And families, I think, really can truly become just as sick, if not sicker, than the one that's really struggling in active addiction, because we see it from the outside and we do absolutely everything that we can to help them. But most of the time we do it in the wrong ways. And I just learned so much throughout this. And even though she did have a recent relapse, I know for me, I couldn't relapse myself in my own recovery. And it was hard. I had to really focus just on me. And that doesn't mean I didn't speak with her. That doesn't mean that I shut her off and said, too bad, I want nothing to do with you. Absolutely not. The love never stops. The emotional support and guidance never stops. But I couldn't get sucked into that life again. I didn't give money. I didn't co-sign the BS, right? I had to continue and not get sucked into starting to follow her Facebook again, starting to stalk her where she's at every minute of the day. Because if I knew that she was in a bad area, then my mind starts to wander and I'm starting to freak out. And it was messages of love. And it was good that it lasted a short amount of time. But if I had continued to relapse myself and get sucked into that chaos again, I think her relapse would have been much longer, to be honest with you. Because once I became much stronger in my own recovery and created boundaries for myself that were healthy, she started getting much stronger, because I knew that I had to, no matter what, whether she's using or not, I still have to go on in life. And there was one point she was about 7 years into her addiction, and I truly had an absolute breakdown. There was no doubt. And I remember my husband had called me and asked me to do something so meaningless. I mean, like maybe it was taking out the garbage or something. It was so nothing that I don't even remember what it was. But whatever he had asked me put me into this tailspin, and I just lost it. I'm screaming and I'm crying, and I just, like, everyone leave me alone. I felt pulled in so many directions, like I am the sole one that's responsible for everyone's happiness. And I couldn't take it anymore. My child is going to die or on the verge of death. And my marriage was crumbling because all we did was fight. And 9 times out of 10, it was about Brittany and an addiction. And I have a younger daughter who's 12 years younger. And I saw that I wasn't being the best mom to her that I should be. I was also losing myself. I wasn't, things that I once loved, like working out and riding my bike and seeing girlfriends from high school who were my besties and my friends. And I stopped doing all of that, making up random excuses of why I couldn't go. But to be honest with you, I was just so mentally and emotionally exhausted. I just didn't want to go. That was the worst thing I could have done because it sunk me lower and lower into everything. And so during this breakdown, I jumped in my car and I just drove, and I drove and drove and drove. And my husband is blowing my phone up and I'm not answering. Or if I am, I'm screaming at him to just leave me alone. And it was just, I just remember being in this horrible state of, I just wanted everything to end. Mm-hmm. And I didn't mean my life. It was the pain. I just wanted it to stop for everyone, all the pain that everyone was feeling. My daughter, my husband, myself, my youngest daughter, it was just very intense. And, by the grace of God, my husband did find me that day. And I remember him specifically saying, you really, really need to get some help. You really do. You have to talk to someone about this because you can't keep this bottled up inside. You can't handle this alone. And he also said something that really stood out to me. And I think about this almost daily, to be honest with you. And it helps me maintain my own boundaries. Is he said, Katie, if anything ever happened to you, I don't think Brittany would survive. And he didn't mean emotionally. He meant I was doing everything for her, that she wouldn't know how to do anything for herself. Even little things such as making her doctor's appointments and going grocery shopping, doing her laundry. I did these things because I didn't think she could handle it. But I never gave her that chance. I never gave her that chance to where her room would become just in such shambles that she would need to do it herself. I never let it get that way. I was just the fixer and I did it all. And he was right. And I thought, my God, what kind of a parent am I being by not teaching her these things? And just because she's in active addiction doesn't mean that I need to clean everything up. So I stopped. And it was really hard. And it certainly didn't happen overnight. But slowly stopping these things and being sucked into the chaos, I slowly started seeing the light again. And I got my own coach who really helped guide me through that, taking the focus off of my daughter and back onto me. And I had to learn that I can't change what she's doing, but I can change how I react to it. And I needed to also change how my marriage was, because that was really affected as well. Everything became very toxic. And we would attempt to go out to dinner, my husband and I, and every conversation revolved around Brittany, where she was at, how much money I gave her that month, who she was hanging out with, did she go to this meeting, did she, yada, 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 yada. And it was always ended up to be an argument. And we had to stop. We had to take a step back and truly listen to one another without judgment, which was really hard, by the way. Because, you always think your way is the right way, and it's hard to accept what someone is saying and embrace it. And I had to do that. And likewise for him. And we had to look at each other again. And again, I think it's hard to do. We'd been together for 20 years, to look at each other again as husband and wife, not just roommates that paid bills together.
Mm.
So all of these things I needed to really start doing to help my own sanity. And ironically, when I started doing those things, I became stronger. My marriage became stronger. My relationship with my youngest, not that it was bad or by any means, but I needed to be present, not just there.
Yeah.
And I had to start becoming honest with myself, which was very, very hard to do. And I think I have a type A personality,
mm-hmm.
right? Where, I got to have things in order and organized. And if they're not, when in addiction, nothing is organized. It's always chaos.
Yeah.
And I think that would put me in a tailspin in itself. And I could remove myself from the chaos, but still love and support. And I think that's what helped me personally the most, was finding that self-healing again and putting my daughter Britney, putting her recovery as her responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I would help guide her, and support her. There is absolutely no doubt. And sometimes like this last relapse, again, she had been clean 2.5 years. She was, sometimes I picture it as like that little kid who, when they spend the night at a friend's house, it might become 2:00 in the morning and they're scared and they don't want to be at that friend's house anymore, but they don't want to call mom and dad for help because they're going to look or feel like they look like an idiot in front of their friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they don't do anything. And then they just kind of suck it up, I guess. I think that's how my daughter is when she's in her active addiction. And I see others like that as well, where sometimes they need that push. I don't really like that saying of waiting till they hit rock bottom, or you have to wait till they're truly ready. Sometimes they need that shove. Absolutely. And to get in, and something can just click in their moment of clarity when they are the substances, their minds are clear of the substances. And that is what happened with my daughter. And I, approached her and I said, you got to go. And if you don't go, XYZ will occur. So it wasn't of me, was giving her the choice. You can either continue down this road or this XYZ will happen. And she knew at this point, I do follow through with my boundaries and consequences. And she said, when she agreed to go, which literally was in a matter of hours, she was almost happy. It was like a relief off of her that someone recognized where she was at mentally, but she was too weak to reach out for help herself and too ashamed. And if you can reach out with love and compassion and understanding of the disease, and not in a form of, I can't believe you did that, or haven't you learned, it's demeaning to them. But when we can approach it as in, I understand that you're in pain and you're suffering right now, and I'm here to help you, I think can get more of a positive reaction than going into it with guns a-blazing.
So true. So true. Could you ever, if like you were to think back, could you ever believe that you would be as strong as you are today?
God, no.
Isn't it amazing?
It really is. I think a big part of, as parents who are in the midst of this, the number one thing is fear. Fear has us do many different things. Fear paralyzes us. Fear makes us want to control situations. Fear has us retreat. Fear has us walking on eggshells. So much is fear-based. And not that I'm saying that fear ever goes away by any means. It doesn't. But when we can approach addiction in a way that medically they are sick and they need help, wherever that help is. Not everyone needs maybe a detox and inpatient treatment. Some do, some don't. Every form of recovery I will support. But we have to approach it in that way of compassion and understanding that treatment is not a punishment. This is something that is a sign of strength and courage to get them to the life that we know is inside of them, that we believe in them, and that this is a disease. It's a chronic relapsing brain disease, and it needs to be treated as such and not, as a punishment or not as a criminal activity. And it's just, but again, I think it's just 10 years ago, I was not there. I was lost and I didn't know what to do and where to go. And I did absolutely everything wrong, bailing her out of jail and bailing her out of situations because I thought that would help and protect her. I didn't want her to, I thought if I just paid this fine, everything will be okay again. She can go away to college like the plan was, right? And everything. She won't have that on her record and she won't be affected by it. But the consequences should have happened. And it probably would have helped stop her disease from progressing much, much sooner than it did.
Katie, what you said just now just resonated with me so much because I thought all I needed to do was to get my daughter into treatment and that she was going to get better and that she was going to go on to help other people. And I had her story written for her. I had it written for her. And I then, at some point realized that it wasn't her story wasn't my story to tell. It was my story that I needed to work on. And I see so many moms out there that are just stuck, held hostage by this pain. And they really believe, and I know I've been there, that then enabling, we don't, when we're in it, we don't know that that's what it is, but we think that we're loving on them. And it's so desperate. There's such a feeling of desperation around it. And these moms, we were there, they are stuck. They're so stuck. And for me, I never could have thought that I would have found my way to joy, to hope, to all of these things that were not contingent upon my daughter's recovery. And I just want to give you an opportunity if there's, one or two things that you just want to let those moms know that are hopeless, that are stuck and held hostage in that pain. What do you want them to know?
Well, one, definitely if they're not alone. There is so much education out there now and support. Please reach out your hand. Once you do, you can call me, you can call Char, whomever you're comfortable with, but please do that because our hands are reached out, just grab onto it. And you had a really, really good point. As parents, as we raise our children, we have these visions and expectations of how their lives will be. And when it doesn't go according to that plan or that course of action, we become very disappointed, but we want to protect them and keep them in this bubble for our own sometimes. And it was hard for me to see that was me, but that's truly what it was, I think. Because it was my own visions, my own expectations of how life is supposed to be for her.
Right. And
it took me a long time. And I still work on that, right? I have to every day.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid. I hear this a lot from moms very new into this. I think my son is using, I don't know what to do. I tell them, if you drug test them, how would that make you feel? What are you going to do? And the number one concern is, I don't want to hurt their feelings. What if he hates me? What if he hates me if I drug test him? He's going to say, you don't trust me. We are so concerned about hurting their feelings. Who cares?
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Who cares?
Well, and the only time that they're going to be talking about that they don't trust you and that they hate you is if that test is going to come out dirty.
Right. And yes, they're going to get mad because they're using. Trust your gut. Don't deny it. Look deep inside. You're doing it to save their lives. You're battling the disease of addiction that affects their brain, and they're going to say and do everything they can. And it sounds so believable. It sounds so good. No, Mom, that was for 6 months ago. I can't believe you found that. That's old, or it's my friends, and we believe it. We want
to believe them.
We want to, right? We want to. Trust your gut. Really, truly trust your gut. It's okay to test your kids, and it's okay to say, you're going to do it in front of me. So, it's real pee. That they're not dipping that into the toilet water, or whatever the case may be. Let them experience their consequences.
I love that so much. There are so many things that I want to talk to you about, and hopefully that I can bring you back to continue the conversation. But I want to give you an opportunity to talk to people a little bit about how they can work with you. How can they find you? How can they get in touch with you? And then I also want you to share a couple fun kind of random facts with our listeners that maybe they wouldn't know.
So they can, I do a few different things. I specialize in, a few different things. I specialize in family coaching, family addiction recovery coaching. So it's one-on-one coaching, and it's all done virtual. So people can dial in from the comfort of their own homes. We use video conference, or they can dial in at lunchtime with it, wherever they're comfortable at. It's all private and individualized coaching, and to help you create the life that is inside of you and help you through this journey. And I also do interventions, and I also specialize in helping those who are struggling into treatment. It's a big passion of mine, and I had a corporate career for years. I was a C-level executive at a semiconductor, and for about 18 years. And I left that to do this because I just feel in my heart that just became a job. It didn't mean anything. It just paid bills. And at a time in my life where I realized I don't want any other mom or families to experience what I experienced. And I want to do whatever I can to help and guide them through that process. And they can reach me. I have a website and a blog called amothersaddictionjourney.com. They can email me at Katie, Katie, at amothersaddictionjourney.com. Or they can also call or text me as well, 586-556-2602. I have a whole team that, if I'm not available, I have a whole team of coaches that can help and support them as well, as I don't want anyone to wait, because I know it's usually very, very urgent when people need to talk. Some random facts about myself, I guess. I had my oldest daughter very, very young. I was only 19, so I was a baby myself. And I was a single mom. Her birth father was not interested in being a part of it, and that was okay. I was very okay with that, to be honest with you. And I was raised Irish Catholic, so I just felt I did this, so I need to dig in and be strong and take care of this myself. And we went through some hard times when she was very young. We were on welfare at one point, eating, had nothing but sometimes 3 pieces of bologna left and 6 slices of bread for the week. But you did it. You did whatever you could to take care of your kids. And I believed in hard work, and I believed in you do whatever you can to raise your family. And I just kept digging along and digging in and working really hard and working my way up through the corporate world. And I just don't want anyone to feel that they're hopeless, because you can start from nothing and absolutely gain everything. And I don't mean financially, I mean emotionally, with love. And when I met my husband, my youngest was Brittany was only 5 years old, but we dated for about 5 years because I wanted to be sure that he was that guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was protective of her at that time as well. And when he actually, when he proposed, it was on Christmas Eve, and he actually proposed to both of us.
Oh,
he got down on, one knee and did the traditional proposal to me. And then he turned to my daughter, Brittany, and he got down on his knee for her as well, and had a ring for her too.
oh,
and
God.
asked, if he could be her dad. I'm going to start crying again.
Oh my gosh, Katie, I got chills. That's beautiful.
So I knew then that, this was the guy, because it was, instant family.
Oh,
And he knew that and appreciated it. And life isn't perfect. You go through your ups and downs, but if you can just remain that constant love inside, and try and work on that communication, which every marriage does at any time of the day, right? You're always communicating, or lack of it.
poorly or well. It's
Right. Right. Just to never give up, because we were on the verge of divorce, definitely. And then we realized that it really had nothing to do with addiction. It came down to our own communication issues, but we blamed it on everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just want a lot of moms to realize that, and dads, that you may not be on the same page, but trying to start to look at each other as a man and a woman again, and not base everything on what their loved one is we look at as they're causing.
Katie, you've been through so much, and I'm just so grateful that you're here. You are touching so many people's lives, and I just feel like it's such a blessing that I found you and I met you, and I'm grateful for you. It's just a beautiful thing. And I just want to know, how do you have fun? Real quick before we close, what do you do to have fun?
Oh, I play softball every week, and I've done it. My husband and I started doing it when we met. And we started doing it as, couples dating, and and we still play 20 years later. So we do that once a week. And I love just honestly hanging with my youngest and, all my kids, but I have two, and animals. I have 2 dogs, and we have a pool. We just like to be really active and outside as much as possible. And that is sometimes my break. It's hard to turn my ringer off or my phone off, but I do have to do that sometimes to create boundaries, because I do get calls at 3 a.m, 5 a.m. And if I don't keep at least an hour or 2 for myself a day, I'll lose it all over again. Now, even if it's not my own daughter's addiction, I become addicted to everybody else's addiction. And I'm a people pleaser, right? So I want to help. And the overwhelming guilt if I'm not there is tremendous. But I have just learned so much along this process that I have to do what makes me happy, whether it's riding my bike, taking the dogs for a walk, having that time, dinner with my husband, a glass of wine. I'm not in recovery. It's okay to do that. Right.
Well, and you're touching on something again, just the self-compassion and self-love, which is a whole nother conversation, and just taking care of ourselves as moms through this journey is we neglect ourselves. And so so many things for us to talk about. So you have to come back.
Oh, I would love to. Thank you.
And I'm just so grateful to you. And I want to thank you for coming. And again, just plug your website again really quick.
Oh, thank you. It's mothersaddictionjourney.com.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. and for helping me to connect with other moms of addicts or loved ones who are struggling with addiction in their lives. If you have questions for me, comments, suggestions on future show content, or perhaps there's a specific topic that you would like to hear from an expert in the field, I would love to hear from you. I am also interested in sharing your voice. So if you have messages of hope or personal stories that you think would resonate with our listeners, please send me an email. You can type me out a message, or you can include an attachment to an audio clip with your voice. You can send that to shar@beyondhoperadio.com. And with that, thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Beyond Hope. For show notes and more, head on over to beyondhoperadio.com.
A huge thank you to recoveryinnovators.com and James Healy. Thank you so much for putting up with me and for helping me to produce and launch the show. I couldn't have done it without you. You are so awesome. And to anybody else who has been considering working with James, highly recommend him. Please go over to his website and check it out, recoveryinnovators.com.